but look how easily my knife is carving through it. Key ingredient of the moussaka is obviously aubergines, and aubergines are also known as eggplant if you live in the States. And I'm moving all of my 20,000 pieces of aubergine on my tray. And I'll do the same with tray number 2, a little olive oil, followed by my aubergines. Now, I'm not sure if the traditional Greek moussaka has potatoes or not, but mine does. So I'm now slicing a couple of fairly large potatoes. Look, they are quite big for as potatoes go, but I'm not going to do them as thick as the aubergines. They are approximately half a centimeter thick each slice. And again, if you're using a bread knife, it's really, really good for this job. Look how easy and straight my lines are. But of course, always be careful, don't get too complacent. Little brush, and I'll go on top of each potato so that the top is coated with a little oil. You don't need to do both sides, just enough to make them a little bit crispier when they cook. I'll move the potatoes out of the way, and I'll do exactly the same to what I did to the potatoes to my aubergines. And by using the little brush, I've been very careful in not using an awful lot of oil, just enough to give them again a nice little flavor. And just with the eggplant, I'm not going to do that with the potatoes. I'll sprinkle a little salt, just a little pinch, so that they release a little bit of water, and that will also help in the cooking process. My oven is at temperature, 200 degrees at the moment, and I'll pop them in for 20 minutes, and I will put the potatoes in as well. If you've got a normal conventional oven or fan oven, doesn't matter at this stage. 200 degrees is good for both cases. Moussaka is made with lamb, with minced lamb, but I prefer to use cube lamb. So I've got here a joint of lamb which is shoulder, and I quite like it because it's a little bit fattier than normal, and it releases a little bit more fat. And the reason why I dice my lamb rather than using the minced lamb is because the texture is a little bit nicer, but of course by all means you can use minced lamb if you like. I'm not looking to use all of these either. I will be doing approximately half a kilo. There is also an element of a bit of satisfaction in chopping meat. It's the closest I can get to being a butcher. Now you might be thinking, well, Francesco, this is not a Sicilian dish. You cook Sicilian. Well, yes, I tend to cook just Sicilian generally, or Italian, but I love moussaka. But there is something you need to know about me. My surname is Elia, and Elia is a Greek surname. It originates from Greece. The Greeks actually conquered Sicily many years ago. And actually there is plenty of evidence of the Greek dominance in Sicily with the massive temples and archaeological sites. There is Syracuse, Agrigento and Selinunte, for example. And so I think there is a good reason for me to cook this dish, as it is a Mediterranean dish, and the Greeks were in Sicily.
Well, but the surname means olive.
Yes, that is correct. The surname Elia means olives in Greek. So,
and when we go there, actually, we sometimes find that we find shops and things, don't we, with our name on
yes.
it, which always makes me giggle.
Yes, but I will not be putting any olives in this dish today. And with my lamb out of the way, I can now move on to chopping some onion. By the way, if you choose to use a chopped lamb like I did, you can also buy it already chopped from the supermarket. But when I went and bought my lamb earlier, I found that actually to buy it already pre-chopped was 50% more expensive than buying the joint, so that goes without saying what I've done. Medium-sized onion, which I'll chop into relatively medium pieces like this. Now I like garlic in my moussaka, and I like quite a lot of it, but personal choices, you can choose to put little or none. I'll be adding 3 cloves, but also I will crush it rather than cut little pieces like this. A little oil at the bottom of a saucepan, and whilst everything is still cold, I'll put my garlic in the middle and the onion at the same time. Medium temperature, number 7 in my case, and my onion and garlic has been sizzling now for a good couple of minutes, and it's slightly soft. Good time to add my lamb. And I'll give it a good stir so that the lamb browns up and absorb all of the lovely flavour from the garlic and from the onion. And I'll continue on a medium-high for a good couple of minutes until the lamb is totally brown. My lamb is lovely and brown, and it's beginning to get stuck at the bottom of my saucepan now, which is an excellent time to add half a glass of red wine. And I'll raise the temperature until the wine starts boiling. And I'll wait until the alcohol from the wine has evaporated now. By the way, in the meantime, let me show you here. These are the aubergines which have just come out of the oven and they're cooling down. And they're perfectly cooked. Some of them are brown than the others, but they're all perfectly okay. And the potatoes are underneath. I'm struggling for space, but you get the gist. Brilliant. The alcohol from the wine has totally evaporated, and I'm going to be adding now some tomato puree. This is a very good and a generous tablespoon. And I'll mix it in, and I have to say, the combination of the lamb and the wine is smelling wonderful already.
It definitely is.
Next ingredient is going to be a can of chopped tomatoes, and if I can get the lid off without cutting myself, there it is. In it goes. And I'm going to add some oregano, and quantities to taste, but by the time I'll be done, it will be just under 1 teaspoon. And this is cinnamon, and again, I'm going to be putting half a teaspoon in as well. Be careful with the cinnamon, by the way, because it's quite strong as far as the spices go, so it could overtake the entire flavor of the dish. So half a teaspoon, perfect. And I will be adding also some salt at this stage. A couple of these little spoons is the equivalent of a teaspoon. And some pepper. Quantity is entirely up to you, but we are quite generous with it. And I'll mix everything together now, and I will also turn the temperature down on to medium-low now, number 4. And I'll leave it to simmer. I'll put the lid on, and I will leave untouched for a good 20 minutes. And in the meantime, I'll prepare some Béchamel sauce. I have shown this recipe on the channel before when I've made lasagna, and it's an identical recipe. So for the benefit of new subscribers who have not seen it before, I will repeat it. But I've got here the simplest recipe in the world for Béchamel sauce. Half a liter of milk, half a teaspoon of salt. This is plain flour. I've got 50 grams, so effectively for every 100 milliliters of milk is 10 grams. So if you were to make a smaller portion, you can adjust it accordingly. Of course, you can make also a bigger portion. Then you will have to still adjust it accordingly. And whilst everything is still cold, I've not turned this on yet, I will add the flour, don't worry, it will be fine. So I've not turned the heat on yet, but I'm about to now, and I'll start mixing at the same time. So I'll go on maximum power, by the way, and I'll go quite vigorously with my whisk. And you will see that already most of my flour has dissolved because the milk is cold. And do not worry, as when the milk starts getting warmer, it will all go. Before I forget, I nearly forgot, I'm going to add a little nutmeg in my sauce. Again, this is very optional, but generally it's something that goes really, really well with moussaka. And again, quantities to taste. We like it quite rich.
I can smell it now. Lovely.
So my milk is getting thicker and thicker, and if you look, it's beginning to bubble up. So I'll leave it on the hob for another 10-15 seconds, and I'll whisk it continuously. And I'll turn it off altogether, and I will remove it from the heat, and I'll mix it for another 20 seconds.
How lovely and thick it is. So quick and easy too.
Yeah, and it's all done. Look, it's perfect.
Beautiful drop.
And my bechamel sauce is ready. And also my sauce is ready, and we are ready to put the moussaka together now. Let's have a look. Oh, smells wonderful.
It definitely does.
And I'll start by covering the entire surface of my oven dish with some eggplant. And if you look here, Julie, do you mind moving here? See, they're coming off very easily from my tray because I put some olive oil, but also they've cooled down, which makes it easier. And as the aubergines have cooled down completely, you can actually safely touch them and press them down with your hand, by the way.
This is got one here. Looks like it could go in there. Look. Perfect.
Julie's found a hole.
Yeah.
Trust her. Next, I will be applying some of my lamb and my tomato sauce. So I'm applying now my potatoes in the middle layer. And if, like me, you've done more than what you need, it doesn't really matter, just overlap them. This is mature cheddar, which I am slicing using one of those fantastic little tools. And I will be covering the entire surface of my dish, effectively the top of my potatoes, with some mature cheddar. This will melt and it will be absolutely delicious. Immediately followed by the remaining of my sauce. And yes, you might have spotted that there is more on this layer than the first layer, and that is on purpose because the sauce will filter down as well, which is perfect. Immediately followed by the remaining of my eggplant or aubergines, and as you can see, I can afford to be very, very generous. And again, as I mentioned before, I advise that you go back with your hands and you press it down so that everything is nicely and compacted. A bit like when I make lasagna and I go on and on about compacting it.
And also, so we have room for the bechamel
sauce. And I have purposely left this for last so that I can be very generous with my top layer. And I'm gonna be spreading it all over it. And this is the perfect consistency for the sauce to find its way down.
Sorry everybody, I had to
take
control because he wasn't cleaning everything out of this lovely saucepan and there was loads of sauce left.
See, Julie cannot help it.
No, it's like a compulsion.
Remove the spatula from my hands and finishing the layer of bechamel sauce.
Wonderful.
And before it goes in the oven, I'm now applying one final layer of my cheddar cheese. I'm not going to be as extravagant as I did when I was in the middle, but just enough to just cover the top surface like this, so that some of the cheese will melt. And this is now ready for the oven. Temperature 180 degrees, mine is a fan assisted oven. If yours is a normal conventional oven, up by 20 degrees to 200. And I'll put it in initially for 45 minutes, maybe up to an hour, until it's all golden in color and bubbling. But by the time it comes out, I will let you know. And also, I might be able to show you halfway, because the light bulb has been fixed and now we can see what it looks like. So I'll see you in a little while. I did promise you a shot in our lit oven, and there it is. It's been in there for about 30 minutes now, so another 15 minutes and it should be ready. And we are ready. It looks absolutely wonderful. And it's such a novelty to have a light in the oven. Look, it's, as I said before, it's bubbling, but also it's got lovely golden or brown color on the top.
Lovely crust.
Yes. It needs to rest though. It needs to rest for at the very least 10 minutes, 15 better. I don't think my son and Julie will be willing to wait 15 minutes. So I'll leave it for 10 minutes. And during that 10 minutes, the moussaka will set, but also it will be nastier to taste, because when food is really, really hot, the palate will be screaming. So whereas actually if it's just slightly warmer rather than piping hot, we'll be able to taste it better. So I'll see in about 10 to 15 minutes. The benefit of letting it rest is not just the taste, but look how easily my knife is carving through it. I made this moussaka exactly just like this a couple of weeks before Christmas, and it was just Julie and I, and it was absolutely delicious. So I know this is going to be the same, and it looks just like it.
Can't wait to taste this, so get a wiggle on.
See, that's the pressure I'm under. I'll go from here. We're gonna have ours with a little bread in true Sicilian style, but I'll just test it to see what it's like. It's absolutely the best, and I strongly advise, if you have not tried with chunky lamb before, like I did earlier, the diced lamb, give it a shot. You'll be surprised at how much better it tastes. It's wonderful. Well, that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching, and if you make it, I'll be interested to see how you get on. Arrivederci, grazie, and buon appetito. Ciao ciao.